Around the World Lit Audio. Kokoro by Natsume Soseki. Part 2. My Parents and I. Sections 9 to 17. Full narration script. Channel intro. Welcome to Around the World Lit Audio, the greatest novels ever written, from every corner of the world, in English. New chapter every week, free to listen. Chapter recap. In week 5, the narrator settled into life at his family home with his ailing father. He wrote to Sensei twice, once explaining why he could not come to Tokyo, once after his father's stroke. Sensei did not reply to either letter. The silence deepened. His father lay in his chair in the autumn light, peaceful and diminishing, and the narrator felt, for the first time, genuinely afraid, not of his father's illness, but of a door closing somewhere in Tokyo that he could not reach in time. Part 2. Sections 9 through 17. Part 2. My Parents and I. Sections 9 to 17. His father improved in November. Not dramatically, not the recovery that reverses the diagnosis and restores a person to what they were before. The specific, limited improvement of a body that has sustained a significant event and is finding, slowly, what it can still do. He sat up more easily. He ate with more appetite. He spoke with something closer to his old directness, the directness of a man who had spent his life having opinions, and was not prepared to surrender them to illness. He asked about the future again. He said, "You need to decide something. You have been drifting since you finished university, and drifting is not a plan." The narrator said, "I know. I am thinking about it." His father said, "Thinking and deciding are different things." This was true. The narrator sat with it, the way he sat with most of what his father said, acknowledging the truth without being moved immediately to action, which was a habit his father found exasperating, and which the narrator found, in himself, difficult to change. He was thinking about Sensei. He had stopped writing after the second unanswered letter. There was a point at which continued writing became something other than communication, became a performance of concern without the possibility of connection, letters dropping into a silence that received them without response. He had reached that point and stopped, but the silence was still there. The silence had its own presence, its own weight, the specific heaviness of something that was once filled and is now empty. He thought about going to Tokyo. He thought about it, the way you think about something you have already half decided, and are waiting to fully decide. His father was better. His mother was managing. The house was running. The specific urgency that had kept him here was present but diminished. He did not go. He stayed for the particular reason that people stay when they are waiting for something to clarify, the sense that the situation is not yet resolved, that going would be premature, that another week would make clear what going now would leave murky. Another week passed. His father had good days and less good days, in the pattern of recovery, that is not linear but is overall, when you step back from the individual days, moving in one direction. He laughed sometimes, at his own jokes, which were dry and specific and required that you had been listening to him for years to understand, which the narrator had. They had conversations that were the conversations of a father and son who had never been particularly close, and who were discovering, in the particular intimacy of illness and attendance, that they had more to say to each other than they had previously managed to say. His mother cooked. She moved through the kitchen and the house with the specific efficiency of a woman who has been managing a household for decades and has found in its management a form of meaning that sustains her. She did not say much about what she was feeling. She showed it in the food, in the particular care she brought to the dishes the narrator had liked as a child, in the way she watched him eat with the expression of a woman satisfying herself that something she had produced was doing what it was intended to do. A letter arrived in December. It was not from Sensei. It was from Sensei's wife. Shizu wrote in the careful, slightly formal style of a woman who does not write letters often, and who has chosen her words with the deliberateness that important communications require. She wrote about Sensei's health, that he had been unwell, that he had not been himself, that he had been spending more time alone than usual and had seemed, in the months since autumn, to be moving toward something she could not identify, and could not ask him about directly. She wrote, "I am not alarmed, but I am writing because I thought you should know. He speaks of you sometimes. He asks whether you have written. I think he would be glad to hear from you." The narrator read the letter twice. He thought, he has not been answering because he could not, or would not because he was not thinking about me. He thought, she is asking me to come without asking me to come. He thought, I should go. He did not go immediately. His father was having a better week, and the improvement made the departure feel less urgent, and less urgency always made him pause. He wrote a letter to Sensei, a careful letter, the most careful he had written, saying that he hoped Sensei was well and that he intended to come to Tokyo as soon as his father's situation allowed and that he had not forgotten the promise Sensei had made. He did not receive a reply. His father collapsed again in late December. It was different from the first collapse, more sudden, more complete, with less of the gradual warning that the first one had provided. He was at the dinner table, and then he was not at the dinner table, and the doctor came and the assessment was grave in the specific way that medical assessments are grave when the thing being assessed has reached its limit. He was conscious. He spoke. He was afraid, in the way that a man who has never been afraid of much is afraid when he understands that the thing coming toward him cannot be reasoned with or managed. The narrator sat with him through the nights. This was the intimacy of illness in its final stage, the specific closeness of a person sitting with another person through the hours when everything unnecessary has been stripped away, and what remains is simply two people in a room with the fact of mortality between them. His father did not say much. Neither did he. They did not need to. The presence was sufficient. His mother came and went with the focused practicality of a woman who expressed love through the management of the immediate, fresh water, clean sheets, the small adjustments of a sick room that constitute care when cure is no longer available. The narrator thought about Sensei. He thought about Sensei the way you think about something you have put aside because the present requires your attention, knowing it is there, knowing you will return to it, not quite able to set it aside fully. He thought, when this is over, I will go immediately. He thought, what if I wait too long? He could not finish the thought. He pushed it aside, and returned to his father, who was sleeping now, breathing with the particular quality of a person whose breathing has become effortful, and who is putting more work into it than should be required. January came. His father lived into January. The narrator stayed. Chapter Transition. You have reached the end of Part 2, Sections 9 through 17 of Kokoro, by Natsume Soseki. In the next episode, the final episode of Part 2, the narrator's father reaches his end, and on the day that everything converges, something arrives from Tokyo that makes every decision the narrator has made, or failed to make suddenly, irrevocably clear. Part 3 begins. The letter arrives, and Sensei finally tells the whole story. The next episode is available next week. Subscribe to Around the World Lit Audio so you never miss a chapter. A new episode arrives every week.